Okay, so the Wolverine. A review I was going to do last night, but I got tired. I didn't plan that. I just yawned as soon as I said I got tired. I got tired last night. Couldn't stay up any longer, so I had trouble sleeping the night before, so that's probably why I couldn't stay up anymore. So I went to bed. About 3/4 through the movie. Really, I started watching it again. I finished watching it today, and excuse me, and it was really just a little bit of talking. It's really just the climax, it was where Wolverine is fighting the Japanese guy, the son of Yoshida, and then it leads to the climax. Yeah, so the story is that Wolverine, back in Hiroshima, I think it was, he saved someone's life. And that's really the first time that someone saw, because Hiroshima is before, I believe, it is actually before, because, let's see, First Class takes place in the 60s, right? So this has got to be before, like Hiroshima is World War II, right? Japanese. So yeah, it's maybe in the 40s. So it's be before the earliest timeline of the X-Men in this franchise. So they didn't no idea what mutant was. And they see this guy healing and stuff. Yoshida does, and it makes them believe in mutants. So much that years later, Wolverine, who after the events of X-Men First Class has become this nomad, if you want to call it that, living off the land. He's got long hair and a long beard. Despite the fact that the end of X-Men The Last Stand showed him in a better place, so to speak. I understand that Logan would have, he killed the woman that he loved. But it just seemed like they added this trauma with him for this film. Because it seemed like he had come to peace with what he had done at the end. Because he wasn't like sad or I'm leaving, I'm going away or anything. No, he dealt with it. He was ready to bring the new team of X-Men together. I think it was what it was showing, but and they decided, no, he's going to have trauma from all this. And he's going to live in the woods with a long beard, big bushy beard, the big beard and long hair, and become, a homeless person. Until he was brought to Japan for the now dying Yoshida, who wants Wolverine's healing powers. But Wolverine says no, and because the guy says, "Oh, I can take powers from you, and you can finally die, and I can live," and the guy dies anyway. Here's the thing: there's this red-headed Japanese woman, Yukio, that's with Wolverine throughout this entire movie, and she says that she sees when people are going to die, and it happens that way. When Yoshida dies, she said she did not see it. That right there should have been a tip-off. He's not dead. Spoiler alert. He's not dead. He's not dead. But that should have been a tip-off. She didn't see his death. We'll get to her visions later, but she didn't see his death, right? He's not dead. Nope. So now Logan is protecting Yoshida's daughter from these assassins. And the assassins work for this, what she called Viper, I think. She's the She was Yoshida's nurse, and Logan is convinced, and Yukio are convinced that she killed him. Even though he was close to death anyway. That she was poisoning him with something. And Logan gets infected with something that takes away his powers. And I felt like they did this as more of a way, because Logan is very OP. Overpowered. With his healing and his claws. And in this kind of world where there's very little mutants in this. There's Logan, Yukio, and Viper. That's it. All these people he fights are normal humans. So I feel like they did take away the powers thing so he'd be more on a level ground with these assassins. And not just waste them. Even though he's still got the claws. They probably hurt like hell, but he's still got the claws. They deal with that later, but they still... So this whole... So, from the Wolverine on, they're trying to erase the sins of the past. They're trying to erase what they did with that Last Stand and X-Men Origins Wolverine. But they still gave Wolverine his bone claws at the end. Okay, so climax of the film leads to this, Shida Tower or something, I don't remember what it's called. This battle with the Silver Samurai, who's made of adamantium, so he's not silver. I vaguely remember the Silver Samurai episode from the anime series. Like, you see bits and pieces of it in my head, but I vaguely remember it. I know that Wolverine goes to Japan and stuff in comics. I think they even did an anime series set in Japan with Wolverine. But, yeah, it's just, he goes to this fight, the Silver Samurai, he cuts off the Silver Samurai's head, because there's this, earlier in the film, when I'm talking about Japanese katana, they say hold with two hands. This, Silver Samurai can heat up these swords. They heat up, and they cut off, the adamantium, because when adamantium is heated, it's malleable, it can get cut. So one set of Logan's claws are cut off. He's got the other set. He's got both. He's got the giant katana, and he's trying to get it to work. And then he remembers they said two hands, so he puts two hands. It lights up, he chops off the guy's head, the samurai's head, and it's revealed that is Yoshida still alive in there. And then he cuts off the other head. He drills in and he sucks the adamantium out of his body. Remember that phrase. Sucks the adamantium out of his body. We need to talk about that later. And then, I do like this line though, and it works. But like, he's like, I came to say goodbye to an old friend. Bone claws come out. Really? That's the only thing to carry on from X-Men Origins Wolverine is the bone claws. Could have done without. I hated that. Because that's not the Wolverine I know. The Wolverine I grew up with had no claws until they gave him the adamantium ones. But they gave him the bone claws back because he'd be useless without them. Well, how about this? Don't take away his metal claws. There's a lot of movies where I see, oh, we gotta do this because of this. But if you don't do this, then you don't have to do this. If you don't take we have to insert the bone claws because we're taking away his metal claws. Don't take away his metal claws. You don't have to bring in the bone claws. I'm sorry, but that's the single most stupid thing I've seen in these movies is the bone claws, right? And what's more is this is sort of ignored because by Days of Future Past, he's got his metal ones back, right? And then he goes to the past before he got the metal ones, and he's got the bone claws. And he looks fucking confused as to why he has the bone claws. Like he'd never seen him before. This movie is mostly ignored anyway when it comes to the next film anyway. Because like at the end of this film, they build up this romance between Mariko, which is Yoshida's daughter, and Logan. And this whole movie is Logan is trying to he keeps having like visions of Jean. And by the end, he, finally realizes, I did what I did because I had to do it. You were going to kill people. I still love you. I always will. And she leaves. She walks out the proverbial door. There's also the vision of Logan's death, which I wanted to discuss. Because there's been a lot of theories about this. Yukio sees Logan's death, and she says that she sees him laying on his back, holding his heart in his hand. And when they're fighting off Yoshida's son, he has to take the thing out of his heart, and he's laying there, and he's dying. He eventually heals up, but she keeps saying, this is what I saw, this is what I saw. Well, he survives, so no, it's not what you saw. Spoilers for Logan. Okay? I'm going to go ahead and spoil the ending of Logan right now. So those of you who don't want to know about Logan until I get my review out, stop watching now. Or skip ahead about 5 minutes or so. Skip ahead to the 12-minute mark. Alright? Right here, right now, Logan dies at the end of Logan. Alright? And he's laying there on his back, and he's holding the hand of Laura, or X-20. Go further, about 12:30. With X-23, or Laura, and which is like his daughter, and he's holding her hand. And so people have theorized that, that's the death that she saw. Even though history sort of changed, his death might not have. Like, if she can see the person's death, then that's, just go to, just fast forward till you don't see this anymore, okay? So, while, they I can't concentrate with this, damn it, I can't concentrate this up, so yeah, look, he's holding Laura's hand, or X-23's hand, and he dies. And people have theorized this is what she saw. And you think about it, it would make sense. She sees their death, whether it's in this reality or another. When he rightfully dies, that's what she sees. I know this is a different timeline, but she could also probably see that. So that makes perfect sense to me. People come up with theories that's, that she predicted his death in Logan. It makes sense. Okay, put it down now. But yeah, so let's get to the mid-credit scene here. At the end of the film, Logan to take off in the jet. He says goodbye to Mariko. Yukio gets on the plane and says she's his bodyguard. The next time we see him is without her. So I was hoping, okay, so the next solo Wolverine movie is going to focus on him before Days of Future Past. Lead up to that, and then we'll have a complete story ending with Days of Future Past, which is where the X-Men future timeline story should have ended. Not that I don't like Logan. I do. But they have so much disrespect for the other X-Men characters. Besides Wolverine in this franchise. Wolverine gets the best storyline. In any of the movies, he has the best storylines. Think about it. The first one is being picked up by the X-Men, trying to figure out what happened to him, and meeting the X-Men and saving Rogue. Second one, trying to figure out his past. The whole movie is basically his storyline with the villain that created him. X3, learning to work together as a team. X-Men Origins Wolverine, again, having a life with a woman, her getting killed, getting revenge, going after Stryker, going after Victor. It's his story. Days of Future, or X-Men, the First Class was the first one that they did without Wolverine. Except for a little cameo. And they did great, focusing on Professor Xavier and Magneto. And it shows that an X-Men movie can be made without Wolverine being the main focus. Days of Future Past said, nope, Wolverine's back as the main protagonist, even though he had really nothing to do with the Days of Future Past storyline, any version that I know of. In the comics, it was Kitty Pryde who went back in time, and in the animated version, it was Bishop, who makes basically a glorified cameo in that one. But no, Wolverine's the star, so we have to have him go back in time. And then we have this one, of course, Wolverine, and Logan. X-Men Apocalypse. They just had to insert the scene with Wolverine in it. And then people say, oh, Dark Phoenix sucked, and he wasn't in it at all. That's not why it sucked, trust me. Wolverine not being in Dark Phoenix had nothing to do with the reason that it sucked. Alright? I'll just say that right now. Hugh Jackman not being in Dark Phoenix had nothing to do. I mean, Deadpool, he's referencing Deadpool, but he's not rightfully in it. They did it right. I'm just saying, they put this whole franchise around Wolverine because Hugh Jackman was so popular after the first film. And then they decided, oh, we got to keep Wolverine in the forefront of everything. Right? It's just, Wolverine's my favorite X-Men, don't get me wrong. But I don't know. I never liked how they handled it, because Cyclops was the leader of the X-Men, and they killed him off in the last stand. Why? Because Wolverine has to be the leader. There's no other reason why. I know he didn't do much to begin with in the movies. So you had James Marsden come back for a 5-minute cameo to get killed by Jean. Or Dark Phoenix. So that you can make Wolverine the subject of the leader of the X-Men, even though he was already technically the leader. I mean, I hate to bitch about this, but they have so much disrespect for every member of the X-Men, except for Wolverine. The prequels, or First Class and Apocalypse. Days of Future Past. And I said Days of Future Past had that, and it was Apocalypse. Keep forgetting about Apocalypse. First Class and Apocalypse did a good job of balancing out the characters. Hugh Jackman has a small cameo in First Class and a little bit larger cameo in Apocalypse that didn't even need to happen. Because the minute I saw that the actor who played the young Stryker was in it, I'm like, why? At this point, he shouldn't be necessary to be in it. I understand he was part of Days of Future Past, that's fine. But he shouldn't be in it at this point. But he was. I'm going off on a tangent for the whole other movie, and that's because they want to insert Wolverine in. I like Wolverine, don't get me wrong. It's just the fact that they treat Wolverine like he is the king, he is the franchise. The rest of the X-Men can go fuck themselves. Except for maybe Professor X and Magneto, which they really did a good job with in First Class. Which is about it. The other movies, they kind of, maybe Days of Future Past, I can say they did alright with those characters too. But after that, especially in Dark Phoenix, I don't know. But anyway, I need to get my rating for the Wolverine. It's a 7 out of 10, baby. What's your thoughts on the Wolverine? Let me know in the comments below. Like, share, and subscribe. And I'll see you in the next one.